Could there be more to the Zack Snyder Justice League director's cut than mere curiosity and fan enthusiasm? Well, possibly, according to Screen Rant. Guys, Final Death Star here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit that little subscribe button and join the thousands upon thousands. All right, like the 370 some that have already subscribed. Okay, here we go. Justice League, can Zack Snyder's proposed reshoot scenes actually happen? So this is coming from Screen Rant, and there we have, this has been talked about and promoted in fan circles for quite a while, and it just hasn't really gone away. So there is definitely a significant amount of interest, I would say, to a Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. I was not that big of a fan. I am a big DC fan, as you can tell, specifically Superman. And I just thought that Justice League, well, really the whole DC, outside of, I would say, Wonder Woman, Shazam actually surprised me. I wasn't expecting that much, but I thought that was the perfect kind of movie for what it should have been. Fun, the tone was brighter. Of course, it centers around a kid, so it has that childlike wonder that I think is lacking in the Superman movie. Man of Steel and Superman vs. Batman. Batman's the darker character. He always was, and Superman is not. Superman's the guy that stopped the nuclear war from Quest of Peace. But it's a lighthearted, well, not lighthearted, but it's just a brighter, more optimistic view of a superhero because he's more optimistic and full of maybe naive righteousness or naive optimism, I guess I'd say. But Batman's not, it's darker. But I just thought with the way they shot Man of Steel, the tone, and Batman vs. Superman, story problems aside, the tone of it was just too dark to be a DC, a Superman type story. I think they were trying to contrast it with Marvel, which is brighter. And if anything, I would say Marvel has probably the darker tone to it. But nevertheless, those are just my opinions on the whole thing. But I would like to see a Snyder Cut, having said all that, because, director's cuts sometimes do work. Blade Runner, director's cut, I think, is a more complete movie. The Richard Donner's cut of Superman 2 also, I thought, was a totally different movie. I mean, it's really a different movie altogether from a story standpoint and the tone. The theatrical release was much more kind of comical and spoofy almost, and his cut was a lot more serious, trying to make it a little more realistic in the same vein as the original Superman the movie. So it can work, that's what I'm saying here. Okay, so let's get into this article. Zack Snyder wants to shoot extra scenes for his version of Justice League, but will it actually happen? For the most recent tease, he invited the winner of 1,200 fan poster submissions behind the scenes for additional photography of Zack Snyder's Justice League, while also saying it was unlikely and highly speculative. But Zack Snyder is now, he's on board with this. He wants to do a director's cut. He wants to film additional scenes that he wasn't able to film, when they were originally making the movie. So you got him backing it. Now, that doesn't mean, that's only a one voice, and the studios ultimately will decide. But the director is behind the idea. It's not just the fans who are calling for it. So that's significant. Fans have been fighting for the Snyder Cut for over 2 years now. Lethal Lightning, Ryan Kinnell. With new information about how complete and how completely different Snyder's version of the movie truly is, coming out as a steady clip during this time. This newest tease seems super confident on Snyder's part, but with no apparent budgeting from the studio so far, what are the odds he'll actually get the funding he needs to shoot the scenes he's talking about? See, that it all comes down to the money and the funding. Can he get the funding? Is the studio going to be behind this? There is one thing they talk about here which could impact it. Many have pointed to the fact that he coyly said the additional photography is unlikely and highly speculative in his tease, but simple context clues and familiarity with Snyder's sense of humor makes it clear that he's being said with a wink. First, if Snyder didn't specify that the additional photography isn't officially confirmed yet, it would be seen as confirmation of a green light, which clearly hasn't happened yet. This gets very confusing. Second, the prize is, in effect, a golden ticket, a la Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But what's a golden ticket if the factory doesn't actually exist? Snyder has also previously specified at least Martian Manhunter's appearance would need to be shot, as he never got around to it. Martian Manhunter would be great to see. That was his character seriously lacking in the Justice League. So some level of additional photography was always in the cards should Snyder Cut get released. So he's teasing this idea that a special winner could come and see this unshot, apparently, special edition with these scenes that haven't yet been shot. So why tease it in the first place? And then even if there was a director's cut, he I guess has said he always needed to add Martian Manhunter, so there would still be additional photography involved in just a basic director's cut Snyder release. But then he's taking this further and actually wanting to reshoot at least a few scenes with the other major actors. It may seem like a bridge too far, considering Warner Brothers' resistance to releasing the cut so far. If they aren't even interested in releasing the cut as it is now, asking for money to shoot even more scenes seems pretty ludicrous. The fact that Snyder says the scenes will include Batman when Ben Affleck says his passion for the role is gone, and Superman, who WB can't wrangle into a new contract, seems even more far-fetched. I mean, I understand Ben Affleck not really wanting to, he's lost interest. He was supposed to be in The Batman. He had talked about that years ago. He wanted to make a movie where he would star as, The Batman. It would be his own movie. He was going to write and direct it at one point, then that fell through. Then he was going to just act in it, then that fell through. And, now it's Robert Pattinson, and I'm sure he's just done with the role altogether. So I can understand him not being so enthused. If AT&T wants to utilize the Snyder Cut on HBO Max, then we move past the novelty project for fan curiosity or any kind of incomplete release, as some like Kevin Smith had suggested. And at this point, AT&T would want the Snyder Cut to be a boost to HBO Max subscribers. That's their new streaming service, HBO Max, which is not going to be like HBO Go. It's going to be separate, and they've got the DC catalog, I guess, for this service. So this could be something they'd want to push to try to get subscribers. If it's got such a fan appeal, then it could be a selling point for them. So that's a possibility too, to maybe push this idea. You got HBO Max as a selling point. You got Zack Snyder wanting to do it. Yeah, it's definitely possible. As far as the cast goes, Snyder said the new scenes would involve Batman, Superman, Lois Lane, and Martian Manhunter. But, of course, they have the problems with Henry Cavill and Affleck not being either locked into a contract or maybe not being interested in coming back. So, Affleck has been actively distancing himself from the franchise. When it comes to the potential of Affleck's return to the Snyder Cut, or for the Snyder Cut, though, he hasn't only gone on record in support of the Zack Snyder's release multiple times, but he also said he'd help in any way he can. So, is any way he can would be filming additional scenes. That would be a way he could help. While he may have lost his passion for Batman, he's been very clear that Zack Snyder's vision is what got him signed up in the first place. And the behind-the-scenes issues with the Justice League is what drove him away. If he only had to suit up for a few days of additional photography in support of Zack Snyder's original Justice League version, it's not as unlikely that he may do that. That's very possible. The real hurdle would be getting Henry Cavill back, because he refuses to. He's not a fan of the Snyder Cut. Henry Cavill is more interested in where the character has a future, even though he hasn't signed on or signed a contract to that future. He has been vocal about he's not interested in looking back. It is what it is. Move on and let's look forward. So he might be a little tougher to get, but. I don't think he was too happy about that whole mustache debacle in the CGI, or I guess the lack of mustache, by the help of a CGI in the Justice League. It just looked very odd. You could tell his lip, it just didn't look right. So Anyway, well, that's the article. So I'll link that. You guys can check it out. But, I think this would be interesting if they could get it done. I get Henry Cavill's point of just, it is what it is, move on. But as a director, when you have a vision and it's not, you don't get to see it through and it's not complete in what you wanted, I could totally understand wanting to finish it right, especially if there's fan interest. Even if there isn't fan interest, for your own sake, probably, you might want to do that. But especially with fan interest, that adds heat to the fire. So we'll see what happens, but I thought this was an interesting little update, and it does show that Zack Snyder is interested in doing it. So, could it happen? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching the video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and also don't forget, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.